Welcome back to ABC24 This Week. I'm joined by ABC24 political analyst Otis Sanford, as well as Catherine Burgess with the Commercial Appeal, and Justin Joy, former Shelby County Republican Party chairman. All right, next I want to talk about the county races and how they're shaping up, some new candidates getting into the ring here. Catherine, I'm going to start with you on this one. The most interesting one to me is Ken Moody, a longtime city government insider going back to the Harrington administration. It works within the Strickland administration right now, and has said he thinks he can take a shot at Mayor Lee Harris for the county mayor position. Was highly critical of him, wasn't he, when he made his campaign announcement this week?
Yeah, he was very critical of Lee Harris. And obviously it's very hard to challenge an incumbent. But Ken Moody made some points that some people are going to say are valid, that may give him a chance against Lee Harris. Ken Moody's obviously very well known. He's very well liked in Memphis. He has the perceived support of Jim Strickland, the city mayor. Harris had the vaccine fiasco that we all remember from about a year ago, and Ken Moody took him to task for that when he made his announcement yesterday. Lee Harris has also been very hands-off with the county commission, something the county commission has criticized him for. There have been other issues with the county commission. In 2019, commissioners passed a vote of no confidence in Harris's director of corrections, Anthony Alexander, and Harris became. So Ken Moody is portraying himself as someone who can work with the county commission. One of Lee Harris's chief critics on the county commission, Edmund Ford Jr., was at Ken Moody's announcement yesterday. So it's possible that Ken Moody's going to try to portray himself as someone who can cultivate a better relationship with the commission and possibly with the public than Lee Harris. So that's yet to be seen, but it's certainly something he's going to try to do.
One more question for you. What are you hearing in terms of other names on the Democratic side that might be getting into the race?
I haven't heard any other names yet.
Okay, so if it stays just Ken Moody, then he might have a shot, but the more Democrats who enter the race, you see the incumbent having a pretty easy time of it, yes, no matter what his vulnerabilities might be.
And obviously, we've still got a little while to go before the primary, so other names could crop up. But those are two really big names, so it'd be pretty hard, I think, for anybody else to jump in.
Well, Justin, as you know, though, what they say, money is the mother's milk of politics, and that's what it gets down to. Lee Harris is going to have no trouble with name recognition, number one. He's got the power of the bully pulpit. He can call a news conference whenever he wants. Ken Moody can try, but it doesn't mean we're going to show up. And he's going to have the kind of name recognition that is hard to beat. Ken Moody may be known in government circles, but I know this is the other side of the aisle for you, but it's going to be tough, not only for Ken Moody, but whoever the Republican nominee ends up being in this race.
Richard, it's always hard to challenge an incumbent, as Catherine said, but I do think that at least many Republicans in the county, and Mr. Moody, agreed that Mayor Harris should just be a one-term mayor. And so I think there will be a very spirited race as we approach August. I think there'll be a spirited primary on the Democratic side before we get there. So it will be certainly interesting to watch. But yes, again, it's generally difficult to challenge an incumbent for the reasons that you cited, and it will take a lot of money to do so.
Speaking of which, City Councilman Worth Morgan, who's worth a lot, is so far the only declared Republican candidate in this race. Are you hearing anything about other challengers on the Republican side seeking that nomination?
Richard, I'm not, and I think, as Catherine alluded to, we've got a little time left, but that window is beginning to close fairly quickly, especially if you're looking at raising the funds necessary for a primary race, let alone a general election.
The other race I want to talk about, Otis, is the one for Shelby County District Attorney.
Right.
Amy Wyrick is the incumbent there. This is an 8-year term in the case of the DA, but you have so far 3 Democrats who have announced their candidacies. Former County Commissioner Steve Mulroy, Linda Harris, also a lawyer and former police officer, and Janika White, also recently announcing her candidacy. Right. Do you feel the same laws of politics apply in this race too?
Oh, I do. If you go all the way to August, you still have to say that Amy Wyrick is the favorite to win. She's a fairly popular district attorney. I know there have been a lot of criticism of her. Democrats have marked this race as one to go after, just as Republicans have marked the county mayor's seat as one to go after. but Amy Wyrick will be their odds-on favorite. It would be interesting to see who emerges out of that Democratic primary in May, Richard. I do think that in terms of name recognition, Steve Mulroy probably has it, but he's going up against two African-American women in a city that has a lot of African-American women voters in a city and county. So it'll be very interesting to see how that happens. One quick point about the county mayor's race is that the X factor here will be just how vocal Mayor Jim Strickland will be for Ken Moody. I don't expect him to be really, really vocal. I don't expect him to be at many campaign events and all of that, because if Ken Moody loses, he still has to work with the county mayor. We'll just have to see how vocal Mayor Strickland is.
Okay. And then, Catherine, you told me you were a couple other county commission races that you're following, that you're somewhat interested in, that incumbents are being challenged, namely Amber Mills and Brandon Morrison.
Yeah, well, I don't know too much about them yet, but I did notice that both Amber Mills and Brandon Morrison had challengers. Brandon Morrison is being challenged by Jordan Carpenter, who all I know about Carpenter so far is that Carpenter is a lawyer and a veteran. And then Mills is being challenged by Alan Courtney, and I don't know anything about Alan Courtney yet, but it will be interesting to see those two races. And then there's a couple other commission races that are interesting. We've got some that are just have a whole lot of people contending for them. They're open positions. So it'll be interesting to see, how those play out.
All right. And Justin, I'm just curious, as you look at these countywide races, whether they be literally for the entire county or just a particular district in the case of the county commission, what do you see are the challenges for your party when you see, as a result of this latest census, just how much more blue Shelby County is becoming with really each passing year? How do you win a countywide race?
I couldn't actually hear the first part of your. Oh, sorry. Was that a question for Justin?
That was for Justin. I'm sorry. We'll come back to you, I promise. Go ahead, Justin.
That's all right. Richard, I think when you get to the local level and you look at the party levels, it's a much different scenario than what we have in national and federal elections. I think when it comes down to voters in Shelby County making their decisions as to who they want running the county, filling these various offices, they are looking just as much and oftentimes more at the individuals running for those offices than they are the letters besides their name. I'm not to say that party labels don't mean anything, but I do think, as we've seen in the past, and I think as we'll see again, that even in a blue county like Shelby County for federal elections, we have oftentimes seen Republicans do very well in this county because, again, I think the party labels don't mean nearly as much for local elections as they do at the federal and national level.
Of course, Mark Luttrell, Amy Wyrick are living examples of that, Otis. One thing we were talking about earlier is what you described as the musical chairs of local government and running for office. And just some of the highlights, I'm probably missing some. But you have Commissioner Willie Brooks, County Commissioner, who's now running for Shelby County Register. You have Commissioner Eddie Jones, who's now running for Probate Court Clerk. You have SCS board members, Miska Clay Bibbs and Althea Green. They're running for County Commission now. SCS board members Stephanie Gatewood and Commissioner Reginald Milton are now running for Juvenile Court Clerk. It's a good thing we have so many clerk positions in the county, giving people so many different things to run for, I guess.
And people love serving in public office. That's certainly clear. And when they're term limited, they go looking for some other place to create some new terms. And that's going to be the case this year, Richard. A lot of those a lot of those races will have some fairly well-known people running against well-known people. Certainly, when you talk about the political apparatus of the county, it'll just be fascinating to me to see who emerges, who has the money to wage a good campaign, and who can get their voters out in the primary.
Catherine, we've talked about these clerk positions before on this show. Most county governments, you don't see so many positions that would typically just be appointed by whoever the county executive is or whatever, and would pretty much be immune to any kind of political race. Shelby County loves these clerk positions. They pay six-figure salaries. They're largely based on name recognition in large part, and you can't beat the county benefits, can you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, who's ever heard of registered deeds or juvenile court clerk? But here we've got big names running for them. Juvenile court clerk, I think, is one of the most interesting ones. We've got 4 people so far who've pulled petitions. You've got County Commissioner Reginald Milton, who's leaving the commission due to term limits. You've got Marcus Mitchell. You mentioned Stephanie Gatewood. And then you've also got WMC Action News 5 anchor Janine Gordon running for that position. And it's a position that makes nearly $150,000. So who wouldn't want it? But like I said, 4 people running for a juvenile court clerk. Who would have thought?
Justin, is it time for the county to re-examine just how many of these county-wide offices are up for grabs every cycle? When you look at the pay and when you look at it's questionable just how much responsibility they actually entail in some cases.
Richard, some of these are constitutionally set, so there's really not going to be a lot of flexibility there. But, I do think just like in any other organization or employment context, salaries do need to be examined from time to time, and certainly what the scope of responsibility of the various offices are and how commensurate that is to what is being paid to the elected official in that office, but also that respective office's budget.
Okay. All right, we're going to leave it there. When we come back, folks, we're going to talk about an interesting development this week. Speaking of clerk positions, a city clerk position you might not have heard of before, but caused some commotion and interesting commentary at City Council this week. We'll be right back.